Hi, my loves. Welcome back to another episode of Perspective with Viv. My name is Viv, and this is a show. Today's title is Come On, Viv, based on the Substack article that I wrote, like say, a couple of weeks ago. And I'm trying out something new with the podcast because, as I said before, this place was a place of play. There's a certain vibe that I want to maintain here. So that's why I'm really, really experimenting, and I'm happy about that. So yeah, just before we start, I'm going to pull a card, a tarot card for my tarot lovers. This is something new that I want to start with the podcast. Fingers crossed that I maintain it because I always have new ideas and all of that. But this one, it seems sturdy because tarot is the main thing that we're about. And if you guys haven't checked out my Facebook page, I have a Facebook page titled Perspective with Babe. I post my readings there as well. I have TikTok, but my TikTok has now changed to etherealliving.com. More on that later. All right, so let me start by pulling out a card for you guys. Hold on. Now, this card that I'm pulling is just to figure out the energy that we're in. At the end of the episode, I'm going to do a fuller reading based on the card that I pulled. So, what do I need to tell you guys today? Oh, card. I keep thinking of the high priestess. I don't know why. But okay, let me just pick a card. Wow, Five of Pentacles. Five of Pentacles. Why is that? We'll find out at the end of the reading. But when I see Five of Pentacles, it's a negative card. It's a card that speaks of how possibly you may not be in a good place financially, materially, resources. You may feel like you've been shut out. You may feel like you don't have a sense of belonging. You may feel as though things are shaky and things are unstable. But genuinely, even though this card is showing up, anytime it shows up for me in a reading, I definitely know that we're just about to turn things around. So I'll just pick a card to clarify it so that I don't leave you guys on a cliffhanger before I start the episode. Clarified card for the Five of Pentacles, which was so unexpected. King of Pentacles, can you see? The King of Pentacles is clarifying the Five of Pentacles. King of Pentacles speaks of worldly success. It speaks of stability, it speaks of security, it speaks of abundance and generosity. Even knowing somebody that has great resources that they're willing to share with you. So that's really nice. So let's talk about Come On Viv, the article. I'm going to read it and then I'm going to add like more anecdotes to it as it comes along. But this I feel is going to be very healing for me because I'm in this space of deep healing. The astrologies are right, everything is right, energy is aligned. So let's begin. Take a deep breath with me as I welcome you into my mind. Romance has always been a central theme in my life, even when I didn't want it to be. I have a stellium in my fifth house in astrology, which means I have more than one planet in my house of romance and creativity. This has made me focus on finding true love from the moment I could remember, and this journey didn't start off healthy at all. I have Pisces, creativity, emotion, intuition in my fifth house of romance, and the sign of Pisces can lean towards being delusional when lacking in discipline. I remember how my delusional ass approached love when I was still deeply wounded emotionally. Growing up in an environment where love was rationed, it made sense to go out into the world seeking someone to love me. I'd read various romance novels and watched films, and maybe I shouldn't have watched them at the time because they consistently enforced the way romance was meant to be in my mind. Now in my 30s, I get so angry when I think about romance because a deep disappointment manifests in my spirit. My idea of romance always involved giving my power away, and I hate that so much. Romance meant waiting to be seen and chosen, giving the onus on the person to show up the way I expected them to, but they never did. With each failed prospect, I grew in resentment and resignation. I've watched the opposite sex over the years and the extremely decent ones you see from time to time, but most of them can be absolutely disappointing. I can't name the number of times it seemed I had a good moment with one, and that's all it turned out to be. A moment, a frozen moment in time where the vibes were superb, a moment we could play in just before humanity snuck in. Of course, humanity in a person is embraced, but I always wondered why the people I've encountered view love as rocket science, while I've viewed it as a lake I've been invited to swim in. I've been prepared to take off my clothes and jump in, but the person supposed to be standing next to me is in there. Oof. Eventually, I started thinking about capacity. Was I too much? I mean, yes, I have expansive energy, but is that enough reason for these people to be scared? I don't understand it, and I'm not the type of woman to sit down thinking of all the things that are wrong with me that prevent them from having the capacity to hold my love. I just look at them and think something is wrong with them. I've done the work. I know my shortcomings enough to know why I should hold myself accountable. But I can't feign ignorance at the fact that I'm not meeting people who have the capacity for me. And it's made me debunk romance once more. Why is romance, or at least my perception of it, centered around men? men showing up, men making declarations, men doing the things that show they love you. And if all of that is absent, then there's no romance in your life. I find that deeply untrue. For me, because an external reality depending on another person to show up for me in a specific way disappoints me, I'm more keen on creating romance in a way that runs with or without a person in my life. I can't just be a romantic woman that knows and sees how a potential love should unfold, knowing she's the only one with the script in her hand. Oh my goodness, is that not so true? I cannot will another person to act in line with the script I see so clearly in my mind. So instead of doing that, I'm pouring my romantic energy into my life and my creative work. You see, the fifth house is also the house of creativity, joy, and fun. And I feel these are really good expressions of romance in a way that doesn't need a partner or the full attention of a partner. I can use creativity as a way to embody the romance I believe life lacks in crafting an ideal character who doesn't need to be willed to know how to be. His way of being is just romantic. I cannot tell you the emotional satisfaction that flows easily when I write this way because I do love romance. Fun and joy can be expressed through flirting freely. I would have also said fucking freely and safely without catching feelings, but I'm abstinent because it's not worth the emotional investments yet. That's fun. And maybe one day we'll unpack sex too. I have so much to say. Oh my goodness. The reason I wrote this article, and I can't lie, it's the reason I've been stalling so far. I've had two significant encounters with men in the past who I hardly knew, but shared what I thought was a meaningful moment, which it was. However, due to trauma and low self esteem at the time, I'm pretty sure the glitches in my brain ensured the moment stayed moments and nothing else. And yet I sat in wait, hoping that the romantic energy we both felt would somehow erase all logistics and complexities. Oh my God. Do you know that I can't believe that I read this article because I genuinely need to heal. I genuinely need to heal from pain of those moments with those guys. And I have to say, and if I'm really going to be honest on this podcast, genuinely, that strong need and desire that I had for those two guys at the time, I think I've spoken about them. There's no way I've not spoken about them in the romance episode. Give me a moment. Let me drink some water. Okay, so wow, needed. Oh gosh, I'm unearthing some real serious memories, but I need to do that because I genuinely feel like I'm actually crying because those times, like I'm not trying to make it a mental health issue thing. I'm not, but I was thinking about it today that genuinely, like I really pulled myself out of like the gutter mentally. Like I've got through so many things, or I've experienced many things. And luckily, as I say, I've experienced many things. I'm not even pointing a finger at anybody. I've just experienced things on my own that made me know that, oh wow, I really thought you were healthy now. And yet here we are here. Because now that I'm here in this space in which I'm better, you understand? I'm not making eye contact with the camera, guys. You just have to listen. Now that I'm here, I'm just like, oh gosh, I'm actually going to cry. Now that I'm here, like healthier, right? I feel that when I look back at those two moments with those two specific guys, like let's say like how many years ago, like it should be about 6 years ago for one, 3 years ago for another. Like I was in pain. I was in pain and I did not know that I was using this or these situations as a way to escape. Whoa. Fuck. It literally just hit my chest just now. Like I was going through stuff that I needed to find an escape in romance for. And I feel that if I trace it all the way back to childhood, whenever I had pain, whenever I was sad, because I was sad for a very long time, I just used to think of quote unquote romance as that escape from all of it. Hence why I keep referencing the things that we watch, the things that we read when we're younger. They shape our minds. And I know the kind of mind I had when I was younger. I used to read a lot. My brain was so big to soak up things. So whatever I soaked up around those times, and I remember, it's really made me who I am today because I remember in Port Harcourt, like we still have like Enid Blyton, like she used to speak about fairies and goblins and magic, and I never lost that thing for magic ever. Like I held on to it, and I'm in my 30s. I can't let go of my whimsy. What's my point here? I'm just thinking that those experiences with those guys were just like to escape from pain. And I'm just realizing that I was in serious pain around that time. I just look at it from this side and I'm like, wow, I can't even imagine being there. Like I can't like Like that person that I was then is so far from who I am now. It's not something that I would reject or be ashamed of, but I would be like, damn, you're hurting. Fuck. So what do I mean by the glitches in my brain? I used to be extremely unhealthy mentally. It's a wonder I'm standing here. I was traumatized, so I experienced what I called glitches, which would exhibit itself as a crash out or an extremely mean moment or the desire to humiliate. Couple that up with heavy projections and stories in my head, and you find a young woman casually walking a thin line between insanity and depression. And that is so true. Like, I don't even know. I keep asking, and I was saying myself this today in the shower, how did you even get here? Like, if someone asked me, how did you heal your mind? I would say it's the grace of God and me. I don't know what I did. I know that I just had this intention I wanted to be healthy. I'd already like asked for help during A levels, at that time I think I was 60 something. I was struggling. And yet like people thought I was being an attention seeker, there was no sympathy. And around that time was the first time that I started to realize that whenever I'm in pain, whenever I'm struggling, lots of people don't give a fuck. They don't have that sympathy. They'll rather like, berate me as opposed to help me. So obviously, I've always helped myself. Yeah, I'm just remembering, yeah, this is healing. So you could find me mesmerized, replaying the moments over and over in my head, rereading moments, finding a new insight to an already flogged memory. I would sit down for months doing the math, wondering how I could have acted better, feeling shame at how I acted because I didn't act right. It was tedious. I yearned, I cried, and deluded myself for many months in one case and close to a year in another. Until I realized heartbreakingly that nothing was going to happen, that the romance wasn't strong enough. I'd fantasized, I'd prayed, I'd imagined, I'd felt feelings, and yet I got the same conclusion. They liked me, not just enough to do anything about it. I got this conclusion when I mistakenly ran into one at a park in London. Bear in mind, I had obsessed over this man for many months. I said many months for one and for another. Lies. I'd like to say it was about 2, 3 years for one and a year and a half for another. Yeah. 2, 3 years for one. And if I'm saying 2, 3 years, I hope I'm even being honest because it could have been 4 years. Yeah, three, four, maybe, and then one. Yeah, in that article, I just wanted to get to the point. So I didn't say the true thing. Well, obviously, in the podcast, I'll be honest. So it was that long and it was that tedious because imagine using all that energy and fuck. Anyway, I got this conclusion when I mistakenly ran into one at a park in London. Bear in mind, I had obsessed over this man for many months. I'd narrowly avoided going insane, which is so true. I was now on the verge of healing. I'd interpreted dreams of him I'd had. I had so many fucking dreams about this guy. God. That's why I don't pay attention to my dreams anymore. When I first started this spiritual journey in 2018, I was dreaming a lot. I'm very good at dreams. But along the line, when I started liking these two guys, let's just say that these two particular guys, I don't know what it was. I truly believe that moments are spiritual moments. You get what I'm saying? I truly believe that maybe I'd known them in another life because the impact was so strong and everything felt more energetic and spiritual mental as opposed to real reality. I don't think once again, people couldn't get where I was coming from with any of these things. And that's why I'm very much an internal person. I don't feel the need to share how I truly feel to people. I don't think they even truly understand it. I think when I come on the podcast, I say everything that I would love to say to a person that gets me. Do you get me? And that feels good. I'm okay. No, would I say I'm okay? I mean, it's okay that nobody really so far really understand my mind when I express it. That's fine. I mean, what else? Well, I just hate the fact that these things happen. But yeah, it just happened. Anyway, so I had interpreted dreams of him. So I stopped when I had a lot of dreams about these two guys that I was interpreting, that I was saying. I just stopped. Like I stopped seeing the meaning of my dreams. I stopped seeing it because if I was even really being fucking honest, and it pisses me off, I've had dreams that are not even about men, that are never about people that I liked, and I'm yet to see them come to pass. I don't know why the fuck I had them. And then I realized maybe it's just me projecting onto my dreams. So when I have dreams, I don't even see their meaning anymore. I used to do interpretation before because I was so good at dreams. But along the line, and I don't even want to think of myself as some sad story, but I don't know what happened. And so many fucking irritating things are coming up for me as I talk. Like, look at how dreams are no longer a superpower for me because it's just been whatever it is, pissed off. So I'd interpreted dreams of him I'd had and had prayed over our union at the Qibla in Saudi. Like, come the fuck on. Even praying at the Qibla, the prayer didn't even come true. Like, come on. I was convinced this had to happen. I'd invested too much time and energy into one moment. Fuck. This man stood behind me for a good 5 minutes without saying a word because he hoped seeing his shadow would make me turn around and say hi to him. I knew it was him without knowing it was him. I'd convinced myself that I'd known this man in a past life where he wasn't entirely good to me. I say that because I felt him from across the park. All of a sudden, my vision went blurry. I knew it was him because he gasped and stopped when he saw me. A stranger wouldn't do that, I thought. I knew he walked up to me without me knowing. It was as though I was in a trance. Because in that moment, my intuition told me not to turn around. The energy behind me had an uncomfortable heat to it, almost as if it would burn me if I turned around to face it. I knew the heat was real when he walked away and the air around me felt cool again. What was that? He ended up leaving, but not before we shared eye contact till he walked out of the park. He never said a word to me. Was he waiting on me to make a move, please? So let's talk about that briefly, because I did speak about that in romance, right? I think one thing that I've realized with every single situation is that I don't need to do anything to get real love. And I hope that I'm being clear as I say that. I don't need to do anything to get real love. All I need to do is be myself and just live my life. That is what I've realized. I say this because it's not like the feelings weren't there. And my thing is, if the feelings were there, and you choose not to act on it, whose fault is that? Do you get me? I think every rejection is a freaking protection because there's some things that we want so badly, but we don't know that it's not good for us. Do you get me? All these situations with these guys, I'm not going to lie to you, is because I had this deeply engraved thing that romance saves you from all the pains in your life. And that's why you really need to be careful what your kids are reading and watching. I had that thing in my mind, like it's been there, it had been there since secondary school. So it's not like, oh, it just came out of nowhere as an adult. Now, as a secondary school girl, the questions that I had and the way that they went about, maybe you know that there was something much deeper at play. Like this is just not normal, you know? So, well, I don't know if I'm making sense, but yeah. So with this guy, bear in mind that I'd even gone as far as going out of my way to contact him just to be clear about how we left things. Do you get me? But I don't think men really care about stuff like that. Men, they move on. They don't hold on to things. That's the truth about them. So I really didn't have to go out of my way to reach out to him. But do you know something? I realized in that moment that when he saw me at the park and he couldn't say anything, was it for me to talk, that was my guy that I liked. Like I just liked the idea. Because for me, oh, if you liked me, you open your mouth, you talk to me. Even if you're shy, you would go out of your way. You wouldn't wait for me to make the move. But I've always said this thing about British guys now. Like, y'all don't have the, I don't want to generalize, but really, I do want to generalize. You're always waiting for women to make the move. Tell me I'm lying. It's only the ones that are actually like fully confident in themselves because I don't know why a grown man will stand behind a woman, willing her to turn around because the shadow is showing. My whole spirit said, don't turn around, don't look at him. I really did want to, but the way my spirit felt, it was like, guy, it comes so far. I was at the end of my healing journey with this situation. And anyway, I'm relieving the pain because well, it's good to know that you've grown. Do you get me? All the situations I've had in the past, all these situations, I don't feel shame around it. I don't judge myself for it because first of all, I know exactly to be shamed and judged by people that don't even understand me. Second of all, who I am now is so emotionally clean. Like I'm very good. Do you get me emotionally? Like I went through my battles by myself. I generally carried myself in a corner. I went to go and heal myself. I said, let me not be a problem in people's lives. You get me? I don't want it to be that I'm known as the one that is always snapping at people, that is always angry, or the one that is wayward. I don't want to be known as anything. I just want to gingerly heal in peace. And while I was doing that, I still had opportunities where I fell in love. But now that I'm talking about it, I'm happy that I've had those experiences because I'm not going to lie, it's helped to clear a lot of those relationship perceptions and trauma as well. Because if I was to go deeply into stuff, I would say that it's a family, no, it's a generational thing on one side of the family to crave true love. It's a craving. And on that side of the family, some people have been able to have it. Other people still have that craving. So obviously the craving was passed on to me. I knew it was a craving because in this article, you'll find out, don't worry, we're still going in. I talk deeply about how this thing was from the soul, like this need, this, that. It's genuinely a spiritual thing. Do you get me? And when I say spiritual thing, obviously, like if you're Nigerian, You might think, oh, like a curse. No, it's just like I'd like to say, it's really just generational. It's one of those generational things that you have to unpack and then remediate. That's what you have to do. So let me continue and then we'll talk some more. So, was he waiting on me to make a move? Please. Seeing these men as human, when my mind had built fantasies in which they were demigods, was extremely humbling but so needed. I had to ask myself why I kept letting fantasies occupy my head and why I kept them there for so long. Was I truly desperate for romance to the point where I held on to a fantasy rather than reality? Was I trying to use what was I trying to use romance to escape from that would make me pine over an absent man for years? Let's not say months. Come on, Viv, what's the problem? It was only recently that I made an effort to look back, and I remember the emptiness had always been there, especially as a kid. I had always felt lonely and sad with a strong conviction that love would save me. What was I saying? I remember watching Hercules and falling in love with the way Hercules and Meg fell in love. I wouldn't say I'm in love was my favorite song and was touched at the moment he dove into the underworld to save her and swooned at the moment he chose to return to earth with her. I was only 9 and yet he stayed with me. Fuck! And I remember feeling the increased emptiness in shopping malls in London. I distinctly remember being a new look back in the day and feeling this extremely sad emptiness within me. And me telling myself, I wish I had love. I remember it all. I remember crushes that were never basic crushes but infatuations. I remember loving those who claimed to love me endlessly and unconditionally and how that was returned to me quickly. They always lacked the capacity. I remember being in a loving relationship with a man and how, despite a deep emotional connection, despite emotional achievement, despite great communication and greater sex, we didn't make it. I just remember the detached part of me that had already spent 2 years cultivating in other aspects of my life, working overtime to ensure I got over the relationship quickly. I realized years ago that I needed detachment to survive, especially in love. I needed to be able to leave quickly, to not expend so much mental energy on a dead thing. I needed to survive. I'd spent years trying to heal my broken mind with little support, and I needed to heal this particular part of me too. I didn't know how to continue living that way. My thinking was, if we hadn't worked out despite all that, then there was no need to wallow in memory. There was no need to mourn when the outcome was disappointing. I remember beginning my romance novel afresh after working on it for 3 years with numerous drafts. I just started and said to myself, this is the romance I want and the romance that will work because I have creative control. And that's how I began my novel. And it cushioned me and made me happier because I was able to craft and construct the romance I wanted to see. And I was able to experience it myself as I wrote it. I can't explain how emotionally fulfilling the journey has been since then. And I must confess, I don't know whether it was just flow or coincidence. Most likely coincidence. Dear reader, I'm a liar. When I said most likely coincidence, I really meant most likely flow. That's the truth. It's most likely flow. It's not coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. You'll find that in the next episode. And I must confess, I don't know whether it was just flow or coincidence. Most likely flow. But I had another moment with someone last month. It was unexpected and he wasn't a fantasy. It was someone I used to know. The moment was mutual, no doubt about that. And yet, nothing after that. Reader, when I tell you that I did not allow myself to fantasize, to project or yearn, I did not do those things. I sat with the feelings that it activated, recognized the moment as being similar to the other 2 times I had moments with men, and ensured this time would be dignified, self respecting, and graceful. I asked what feelings the moment brought to me, how I could use it productively, and only had a day to crash out. Hey, so many things activated within me. As I remembered the immense devastation I had felt both times when I realized I had been delusional about humans I had limited information on. Let's pause here. Let's pause here. Because, whoa, that's the truth of the matter. Whoa is the thing. I feel like this particular situation is a situation that's sensitive to me because I don't want to talk too much about it in the sense that I care a lot about the person. Do you understand what I'm saying? The other people, you can talk about them like they're romance subjects of a scientific experiment. But yeah, this one, no. But what this situation called for me was that okay, you know what? I'll come back to this. Let me read so I can talk about what it is that I wanted to talk about. I hadn't truly grieved those disappointments, but tucked them away in a closet. You don't want to acknowledge your past unhinged moments. Oof, this is so real. I had to cry out the pain from the previous memories. I mourned my past illusions and my yearning for love, which surprised me that I still had. And I remember the shock because when I saw the person, I thought, of course it's you. And I remember asking myself, what do you mean it's you? Are you still looking for your person? Pause. Fuck. reader, listener, I'm even confusing. Listener slash reader, I am sick. Leader is that as I'm reading this to you, my chest hurts. Let me tell you what. Let me tell you how I felt. I'm going to cry again. There is no way I'm going to cry again because whoa, let me tell you how I felt. See, I've been growing, I've been working on myself, right? And if you read, like I said, sign up for my Substack. By signing up, you're going to be able to see that I've been very consistent with my journey or speaking about love, very consistent, which I love about me. Sometimes I wouldn't lie. I feel really exposed, but gosh, I'm an artist. Like, if I'm not expressing my heart and soul through mediums, I am not living life. Do you get what I'm saying? I don't care how it makes me feel afterwards. I've put it out there and it's beautiful. Do you get me? But bring it back to this moment in which I had this particular moment, right? I wanted to cry. Why? I've been working on myself for so long. I had an article that I had written that spoke about I was waiting for someone to love me before I could love myself, which really I wanted to change the title, but I love how Substack embraces vulnerability. It's not really how I felt, but I felt like it's what the article really, really spoke about. But I remember in that article, I was speaking about marriage, I was speaking about love, I was speaking about just forgetting about all of that. You get what I'm saying? That was from January. Do you get me? This is May. No, this is June. Where are we? We're in June. This is June. Brothers and sisters, from that January, I said to myself that I've healed. Like, no more looking for a person. I want to say looking for a person. Genuinely, I just felt like there's this emptiness that I'm magnetizing my person. I'm magnetizing, but maybe I actively have to open my eyes. Do you get me? Long and short of it is that I started this deep healing journey in January, this search for a person. Trust me when I say that. Oh gosh, it's been such a curse. This whole craving, this whole need that I said that I really recognize as generational. I've seen it. I've seen it in relatives. This craving for romance, this craving for love. This, yeah, I've seen it. So I don't judge it. I just saw it to myself, and I knew that if I'd already had that thing from when I was young, really young, it's not just from me. You get me? It's not just programming from what you've read or watched. But so I started doing the work. I started healing, 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 healing. At least I thought I was to have that moment where I stand. Because no, let me tell you the moments that led up to this moment. Because yes, I'm digressing, but do you even really care? Do you know the moments that led to this moment? What I liked that I was now doing as an adult was dating guys with good careers. You get what I'm saying? They're doing well business, like some, this one owned a business, the other one was working in a good career path. Also, I thought this guy was, and I'm not going to say that he wasn't a nice guy. Don't get me wrong, but it's the prominent thing that I'm talking about. He was dry, he was boring. And I didn't know how boring he was because we could have great chats and we could hang, but really no, he wasn't engaging. I just remember a particular moment in time in which we went out and I said to myself, fuck, I'm going to cry. I feel so dead inside. This is the last time I'm hanging out with this guy. Nobody was forcing me. Long and short of it is that in that moment I wanted to cry because that was the most dead I'd felt inside. Bear in mind that life has been good. Life has been good. I've healed, blah, 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 fine. But there was still a particular part of me that felt dead inside. There was still a particular part of me that was like, fuck, like my romantic life has not made me feel alive in the longest time. I feel like this is my fear that I've come into, which is move back to Lagos, fall so deep into the routine, you end up killing your light inside of you. Do you get me? This guy that I'd been with was the perfect example of how he had come back to Lagos from London, from England, and allowed his light to be, you know, diminished or dissolved. And being with him, I could see how dry he was, how his life wasn't so fun like that, all of that. But I could see how he was also draining me of my excitement and my lights. You understand? He always wanted to see me, blah, blah, blah. Why wouldn't you want to see me? I'm very interesting. And I started to tell myself, I was like, that girl, your life is so vibrant. This part of your life, this romantic life is dry as hell, is dead. Remove it. So that's the last time I saw him that night. But I'll never forget that dead feeling that made me know that fuck, I've actually fallen into that trap I didn't want to fall into in Lagos. You get me? Okay. So you have no idea how after those two guys, I was just on my own. I started to now list out what I wanted in a person. I started to just list them out. It's not like I actually intentionally sat down and said, this is what I want to do. From just the guys, I said, okay, this is what I liked in this guy, this is what I didn't like in this guy, this is what I liked in this guy. I started to say what it is that I wanted, right? Most especially, I was like that, God, please, I pray to you. May I no longer date someone that has no life in them. May I be someone that is vibrant, happy, that kind of thing. Someone that has life in them. These are all the things. So I was just like saying all these things randomly. But other than that, my life was so good. I was in flow state. I was happy. If you check my journal entries at the time, I was like that. I'm in flow state. I'm happy. Work is good. Life is good. Everything is all right. That kind of thing. Fine. Here I am living my life. Finally, I just bump into a blast from the past. And all of a sudden, it's like, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Is it the alcohol? Is it? No, it's not. I just know that in that moment, I was like, fuck. Now I see why something has been missing this whole time. In the sense that, hey, I knew you before. And all these things that I've been looking for in people, you have them. Do you get what I'm saying? Thoughtless of saying that you and I have always been cool. I'm actually watching this down for the episode. I don't feel comfortable speaking so much. What I'm trying to say is that it was always a relationship that I cherished. You get what I'm saying? But I removed myself from because I felt like I wasn't the best person to be in that dynamic at the time. I was struggling. I was a bad person to other people. I did not want to call me a bad person to said person, so I disappeared. Not a good thing, but at the time it was for the best. You get me? Okay, because if I should go down the road, I'll suck a lot, and I don't want to. You don't understand the feeling of feeling like you're dead inside, right? And then you bump into someone that you used to know, and all of a sudden there's a fire that just goes up inside of you, like boom, like guys, that dead part of me just ignited like that. And when I say that, it was not about romance; it was about feeling alive again. Oh. And I remember looking at the person and thinking, oh, someone and I heard in my mind, of course it's you. Like literally, all the puzzle pieces started to align. I said, no, wait. Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say, of course it's you. Don't come and start giving me false hope. But then I was like to myself, I was like, fuck. Ideally, I should have been back in this person. Ideally, I should have asked to be back in this person's life 2 years earlier. But what had happened was that I shoved that relationship back at the back of my mind in the sense that, okay, I'll come back to it. Let me quickly clean all this nasty emotional mess inside of me. Let me remove it. Don't worry, I'll come back. I'll come back. That's what I said in my mind. For 2 years, well, for 2 years while I've been healthy, but underneath all that time when I had emotional turmoil, I could tell that there was something missing in my life, big time. I could just tell there was an energy missing in my life. There was a personality missing in my life. And as I moved through life, there was never somebody or something that replicated that dynamic. That dynamic was never replicated. That personality the person had never replicated. There was nobody that reminded me of the person. So you can imagine seeing that person again or more. My whole body just, in fact, all the memories that were shut inside the closet at the back of my mind just opened up and everything just came back all like that. And imagine me in my 30s now having memories from when I was a teenager, having memories from when I was in my 20s, remembering in real time something that I had forgotten. That's what that moment was. And that moment was very, 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 very deep for me. I was scared for myself because I was like, no, don't do that here. I don't want you to bring this shit here. So I allowed myself to experience the moment freely. I'll read more about it. I had gone still in the moment because I thought I'd cured myself of searching for my person. I thought I was no longer lonely. It was a lot to process. However, after processing and crashing out quietly, emphasis on quietly, I really crashed out. I closed the loop and moved on. That's a lie. I don't want it to seem as if I'm lying on Substack, but the truth is that I can never fully say everything in writing. You get what I'm saying? I'll say it to my mouth. When I say that that's a lie, I closed everything and moved on. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. This happened under 2 weeks compared to the months and years I used to waste. I still thought 2 weeks was too long, but hey, nostalgia can be sweet. How did I waste so much mental energy in the past? How did I don't know how important romance is to me? Why I say that's a lie about the closed loop and move on, I give the impression that I just moved on. And no, I did not. I it stayed with me. It stayed with me. Not the moment alone, which is what I like. The aftermath, the realizations. Remember that I said that after this dynamic, or after this encounter, I asked myself, what did this bring up in me? It brought up so much. You would never believe that as a result of this situation with this guy, I decided to now go back into my past some more. Like, where else have I left some things that I've not reconciled with in person? Do you get what I'm saying? It was a lot for me. Oh, I wouldn't lie to you, but it was healing. It was healing in so many ways. Yeah. Next paragraph, which is why when I had this moment, and I haven't had moments in a long time, in a long fucking time, I haven't had a moment in like 3 years. I shouldn't look at romance the same way I used to. Even when I had that boyfriend, it wasn't like, how do I explain this? I had a great relationship with my boyfriend, but it wasn't a boyfriend that we're going to have a future together. In fact, I'm not going to lie to you. Looking back at everything, I really wasn't started. I hadn't really started life until recently. Like these past 2 years have been preliminaries. This 2026 year feels like the real thing. I'll tell you that for free. Which is why when I had this moment, and I haven't had moments in a long time, I ensured all my protective mechanisms went up. I acted with discipline. Let me tell you something. Do you know that I wanted to send a message crashing out to this person? Ah, God. I wanted to, do you know that? Listener, I'm not being fully honest with you, but I can't because I want to protect the integrity of, my respect for the person, I swear. At least you can tell the difference. I don't want to talk so much at all. I don't want to, it's really not my, yeah, I don't want to. Sorry, listener. Which goes to show that you know, I don't respect the other words that I've spoken about. Thank you. I don't want to go too into it, but my thing is that just because it was a lovely moment, it was like it was nice to just go back in time, right? Fine. I really wanted to reconcile and to talk and apologize for disappearing because yeah, that seems to be my theme in a lot of relationships. But that couldn't happen. That didn't happen, right? And I remember sitting down all my emotions because, listener, like I said, I'd been feeling dead for so long, not knowing what it was. You get me? All of a sudden, I'm just have this reunion, and then all the things that I've stuffed in my subconscious closet comes out, and they're just everywhere. You're now remembering things, and you're remembering connections, and you're remembering attunement, and you're like, fuck, like, there was just this fire roaring. And I want to emphasize the fire wasn't about desire or attraction or about romance. It was just vibrancy. It was just being alive. Do you get what I'm saying? That was what it was alone, like being activated. God, oh my God, you don't even understand. Like I was alive again. And then it was like a part of me that forgotten, long forgotten that she existed, came back, showed her face. And I was like, wait, what? It was lovely. I loved it. So obviously I wanted to continue, but obviously life and logistics and stuff, I get it. So it was like after feeling that fire, somebody had just come and step on it and put it out. So there was this coldness all of a sudden again. So I had a silent crash out. I won't lie. It was personal, it was private. I was good on it. You get what I'm saying? But I remember that I felt like, fuck, like, why is life always acting so fucking irritating? Life can be so fucking annoying. And I said to myself in that moment, after that moment, I was like, that please, I beg, I'm not putting my heart in anything. Like, I'm feeling things, they happen, we keep pushing. I'm not identifying in moments. I'm not staying. I don't fuck. Okay, let me be honest, because I'm speaking from passion. I'm not going to lie to you. Just because of how life has been from the very beginning, I don't fuck with life like that in the sense of I expect you to be good to me. I don't even look at expectation. When good things happen, I'm thankful, right? But I swear, and maybe it's a wrong thing to be, I literally don't have hope in my day to day. I don't. I'm moving through life. I'm fine. And I know and I realize, and I think that moment helped to realize it, that hope is dead inside of me. And that's one of the things that has been dead inside of me for a long time, hope. But my thing is, if I not bring up hope again, will it not be squashed? So that's something that came up for me. And as I talk, I know that that's a deep wound that I've had hope for so many things and zero, and I don't have it anymore. And I feel like I'm okay with that. Moving on, which is why when I had this moment, and I haven't had moments in a long time, I ensured all my protective mechanisms went up. I acted with discipline. Yes. So in terms of that acting with discipline, I wanted to send a text to him saying, this is what you did to me. Blah, blah, why you do that? Blah, blah, blah. I did not send it to, why would I? Please, and spoil things. That's when I now remembered. I said, whoa, this even puts a lot of things into perspective. Have I respected the guys that have doing it in the past? Because here I am saying to myself that I can't do this. Genuinely, I have so much respect for the person. So in my mind, I say, if I do this thing, or more. No one ever reduced myself. Number two, I've showed my hand and I was not going to do that. So I didn't send it. There's so many times where I wanted to send something. Nope, nope, nope. Said something that was in line with the crash out. Anytime I wanted to feel like crashing out, I called my friend and my friend would talk me off the ledge. That happened like 4 different times. And I was like, I'm so happy that I'm crashing out privately. Hell no, you're not seeing any long text message. Nope, 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 nope. And the way I acted throughout with the person, I'm okay with it because it was way more dignified than the other ones. You get what I'm saying? And trust me, when I say we're coming from somewhere that it has not been so good, long and short of it is that that's what happened. So I started on narratives that came up. I entertained the idea that I may be nothing more than a moment, and I allowed myself to cry the idea that maybe I'd lost an ideal partner, something I hated crying about, but knew I needed to in order to release. Because in my mind, right, in my mind, at this very time I admit it, in my mind, I'm a fucking loser. That's the truth of the matter. And I've been making bad decisions since my 20s. I will say that with a fact. In my mind, at least at that time in my mind, and I'd become to terms with it that, man, I'm so behind in life because of the tism. But really, man, and where do I need to be? Because I started to think about it. This is a version of me that I want people to know. This is a version of me that I'm proud to show to people. So sorry, for the past. You get what I'm saying? But the woman that I am now makes up for it. So that's how I saw it. But at that moment, I was like, fuck you, you're a fucking loser. Not because of the romantic stuff. No, 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 no. It's just in line of everything. Like, I just feel like I'm catching up and people are already like ahead. And I'm like, this is my path. This is my progress. So let me not think too much about it. Yeah, I had to grieve every moment I thought I'd found my person. I had to grieve all the fantasies. It was a final goodbye to them, incited by a person who had always been human to me, thank God. And I say that because this person is human to me. I wasn't projecting, I wasn't fantasizing. In fact, every time something comes to my mind, I'll be like, this person has a mind of their own. This person is their own person. And I love that. You get what I'm saying? Like, that is how I approach this. I was like, that, nope, we're not making this dirty. That was my main thing. Like, be clean all through, be respectful all through. That was me. Yeah. And when more time had passed, I couldn't help but feel proud. I had handled this well. I hadn't resorted to performing. And let me tell you what performing is. Back in the day, when one of the guys that I liked for like 2, 3 years, the guy was on my Instagram. I was on his Instagram. The way I was posting, so he would see me. I was posting, zero. Now this one, I was like, that please, this person is too intelligent. Why would I be posting for attention? It would just be so obvious. Zero. In fact, I remember being so proud of myself that I'm really just minding my business because, there are other things that were happening for me at the time that I was posting about. So I literally was just living my life. Anyway, and when more time had passed, I couldn't help but feel proud. I'd handled this well. I hadn't resorted to performing or assuming his internal world or using astrology to predict movements in my love life. And oh my goodness, am I glad I didn't have dreams about him that I could remember? Everything was working differently. Thank you so much for saying this. Because back in the day, then I'll not start to use astrology. Okay, this is what's going to happen with him in astrology. This is when he will come back to me. La, 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 la. How many times did I not use astrology to predict movements in my love life? This one, zero. I don't look at astrology for any fucking thing. If anything, I look at astrology for how I can make more money. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was focused on. Thank you. And then I knew that God was in control with this situation. Why? I did not have one single dream about him. Any dream that I had would be kind of like sucked up by something bigger that happened to me like some time after that I was focused on. So that dream, the happiness I had from that event wrapped up any dream that I had about him. He was literally just in the corners and I was so happy. I said, I don't want to have any fucking dream till today. I've not had any dream about this person and I am so, so happy. That's how you know we're on the right path. Okay. Everything was working differently. I had survived. And that made me conclude that placing romance in the hands of men isn't comfortable for me. I'd rather cultivate a space in which that vibe already exists and the right person slips into it. I was almost fooled because my recent encounter had exact qualities of the dynamic between the protagonists in my novel, and I couldn't believe I was seeing it in real life. Can I be honest with you, reader? Slash listener. The reason why that novel is like that, the dynamic between the protagonists, is because I'd already experienced that thing before with said person. But because of this long separation and, pushing our dynamic to the back of my mind, bear in mind that this dynamic that we had wasn't under romantic, this thing was under friendly basis, like platonic.
So I guess I must have loved that dynamic without knowing, because if I'm really being honest with you, I didn't know. The subconscious is so much bigger than we know. That weekend that, this reunion happened was a full moon in Libra, which was in my house of subconscious. So a lot of things I did not know that I'd hidden in the back of my mind were coming up to be revealed. Hence why I found myself in this situation and why I realized that I may be feeling dead inside for numerous reasons. But when I felt like I was in my novel, and in fact, it was like a checklist of different things I was experiencing when relating with this person. I was like, wait, what? Am I in my novel? It wasn't until like months after that I just put two and two together that maybe I thought that I'd shoved this thing deep in my subconscious. And yes, I had. But the dynamic and what I respected and loved about the dynamic had to show up in some other way. And it showed up in my novel. Bear in mind, I've been writing this novel for 3 years. I've been writing this dynamic or those intricacies of our dynamic into the novel without knowing. I swear. Let me give an example instead of speaking abstractly. The ability to read one another is a key thing for me. It's a key thing that I've always written. I've always written about inside this novel, especially. It's in fact is the main thing about this relationship, this attunement, this ability to read the other, this almost close ability to read each other's minds. It's just there. You get what I'm saying? And I saw that day and I was like, what the fuck? And something was like, are you in your novel? And I was like, fuck, I'm in my novel. And I'm like, wait, did this happen before the novel? Because we've known each other so long. Did this happen before the novel? Did I always have this? I've had, and then I was like, "Ah, what if I always had it? And because I never saw it again when I was no longer in this dynamic with this person, it now showed up in my writing. Hello. Life is so fucking crazy. So I was almost fooled because my recent encounter had exact qualities of the dynamic between the protagonists in my novel, and I couldn't believe I was seeing it in real life. In my novel, the characters have this easy ability to read each other. And when I witnessed that in front of me, I began to glitch silently. I thought my novel had manifested in front of me. I tiptoed around the vibe because old me would have plunged straight into it, a pat on the back of it. I'll continue writing this novel and I'll continue cultivating this attachment to romance. As for romance itself, I guess that's what films are for. Have you all seen Redeeming Love? I think that's the best. I think that's the best way to end it. Yeah, this is common, babe. Fuck, I want to cry again. I think I want to cry because I've come to terms with the fact that I've experienced a lot in my life, right? And it's not enough to be a victim. I write a lot to process pain. And that's okay because the pain was a central feeling in my life for a really long time. So obviously, like if I'm not writing about it, how can I even grow from it, right? But secondly of all, I'm very happy that I got to express about this dynamic. See how I was walking around in circles based on this thing because honestly, I don't want to talk too much about it. It's sensitive now. You get it's sensitive. So but what is sensitive about it really is just that it's very, how do I explain? It's more vulnerable than the others. I see that because there's respect here. Yeah, if there wasn't respect here, I don't think I would have spoken a way that I speak. I'm even tiptoeing. You get what I'm saying? There's respect here. They are human to me as opposed to the others. Yeah, minus my ex-boyfriend. But like, yeah, but I think a lot of things came up for me around that time that made me think, oh, wow, the subconscious mind is bigger than we thought. We may think that we've compartmentalized certain aspects of our lives, but they show up in other ways that may surprise us. And, love is love regardless. You get me? I think it's beautiful when you don't have to force it to happen. So, yeah, a moment was had and life moves on. Yeah. So let's go and end this tarot reading, all right? Give me a couple of minutes. All right, so I picked some more cards. The next cards I've picked are Knight of Wands, clarified by the Page of Swords, Page of Pentacles in reverse, clarified by the Two of Pentacles. So, as I said in the earlier reading, we had the Five of Pentacles clarified by the King of Pentacles, and now we have the Knight of Wands clarified by the Page of Swords. So Knight of Wands is talking about good news in terms of a work or social setting in which you're going to be able to use your voice, using your voice, sharing your writings, communication, because Page of Swords has to do with writing, verbal communication to draw people to you. There's going to be an opportunity in regards to that. So do not be afraid to express yourself and to speak. Your voice is important. Your written work is important. There's this opportunity that's coming forth for you that is in line with your passions with that, public speaking, and it may call for you to even travel, or it may call for you to form collaborations with people that are abroad.
The next card is Page of Pentacles in reverse. I think at the moment, it seems as though there's no opportunity coming your way. It seems as if people cannot see your value. It seems as if people are not even offering you something that you'd really like. But that is going to change because you have the Two of Pentacles clarifying the Page of Pentacles in reverse. When the opportunities finally come from the right people, you're going to have a very balanced and a harmonious collaboration and connection with them. You're going to have opportunities with people that live in foreign lands, international opportunities. You're going to be able to travel. You're going to have multiple income streams. So that's where your worldly success is coming from. Your success is coming from you expressing yourself, your passions, your communication. Yes, you're a beginner in this, but you're also somebody that people want to hear. So follow that your drive and your passion. Be open to opportunities, no matter how small, because there's some opportunities that are small that would lead to something even bigger. But know that stability and security is yours, and you don't have to worry about finances anymore. Thank you. My name is Viv, and if you'd like to book a tarot reading with me, please check for my email in the show notes. Thank you so much. Looking forward to the next episode with you. And if you'd love to leave your feedback on the episodes, please reach out to me on my social media. Instagram is Perspective with Viv. Facebook is Perspective with Viv. What else? I have my Ko-Fi link. It's in the show notes as well. You can email me. I'll put it there as well. Please talk to me. I'm here. Okay. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.